Fuck.
So, genug Spekulation? Kriegst nichts mehr.
Ich hab kleine Koala-Bären.
Hi everyone. My name is Khan Chakut. I'm the lead level designer for the PU. I will give you an introduction to our locations when it comes to the design, a high-level overview of the design of our locations. I'm going to describe you the processes of our workflow and the goals that we aim to achieve. So, to break down our process a bit, this is very high level, but it starts out with the pre-production phase, an ideation phase. Here everything starts out in the mind. We bring it down to paper, sketch, write, formulate a plan based on our overall design goals. And then it moves on to the blocking stage. You might have heard of this, like the white box and gray box phase. This essentially contains all of the gameplay that you would see in the final product. Basically, the way it's meant to be played, and we test this out with a lot of iteration and a lot of testing. And it's basically, the white box is not in a stage where it's presentable, but that comes now. So on the right, as you see, the food court that Adam is going to be showing you later. This is the final product, VFX, lighting, everybody had their pass on this. And level design or other designers still maintains the space and makes sure that the systems that get created are being retroactively implemented. All right, so one key aspect of game development in general is the balance of narrative, visuals, and gameplay. So all these interplay, they interconnect, and it's the foundation that runs through all game environments. So it's important to communicate context, and here in this draw-over you see that narratively we see sort of a dangerous environment. The spiky shapes here are sort of threatening. We see defensive structures, we can expect some enemy NPCs here, but it's also an old village. Maybe there's some exploration, some loot to be found. And then what's also important is communicating goals. So goals can be the pathways that you take, the gateways that bring you from one step to another, and so on. Okay, whoops. Yep, there we go. Okay, since we're a sandbox game, accommodating playstyles is pretty important. So playstyles meaning going guns in blazing, shooting at everything and everybody, going more of a stealthy, infiltration-y pathway if you wanted to, but also all the social aspects that you know from Stanton. And to do this, we establish, so one of the core design philosophies is granting the player the freedom of choice to do what they want to do at any point throughout their experience. And we do this by establishing or defining multiple pathways or archetypes that we call primary, secondary, and tertiary pathing. So the first one is pretty straightforward. In a social setting, you have the goal right in front of you, and it's a single goal, such as here in the Habs. In a combat setting, this is very exposed, so it's dangerous to traverse this route. Where it gets more complex is when you have, such as with this outpost here, when you have multiple goals that can be equally important to the player at any given point. This is where we need to have a bit more design put into it with, for example, the landmarks that serve as orientation points. So to help you orientate yourself wherever you are in this location. And leading you to these locations by utilizing shape language and composition. The second path is, these are secondary pathways, so these are alternative routes. And these are options that are offered to you as you traverse the area on the primary path, for example. And so you may know this as a tourist when you go to a new city and you look around the corner and you see an alleyway that sort of looks nice and it evokes your curiosity and you want to investigate. In a combat setting, these are covered approaches or opportunities for you to flank the enemy to get to your goal, which could be this building on that sketch. Versus more open spaces when you have in a combat setting, in open spaces, you tend to be a bit more stationary because you want to feel more secure, unless you're in a vehicle. The third path is tertiary pathing. So these are more hidden infiltration routes, especially discoverable throughout the rundown stations that Anna will be presenting later on. And these are mostly discoverable to the attentive eye. You can explore these, find loot, or different routes to traverse through the station. Environment interactivity. You might have seen this in a previous presentation. It's very important to ground the player to their environment, offering them ways of interaction, being able to change the state of rooms, to toy with the AI, or just simply being able to unblock your pathway. Where it gets a bit more complex is when you talk about resource network systems, such as in day one when Torsten mentioned that we are planning to implement this as well in locations. And this will allow the player to engage with their environment in different ways. They will be able to power up or down entities such as turrets, gates, and doors, and also alter life support systems. And also this ties into security systems. So being able to power up or down certain sections of a security system. And security systems in turn will be dependent on security tokens that you will be able to grab from other NPCs in your environment to then gain access to other terminals, to security terminals or other areas. Reputation is a big topic for us, especially with PYRO. So reputation, what does it mean? It means that it's basically your standing, your relationship with factions, and factions are the UEE in Stanton, or outlaw gangs, especially now in PYRO. And this will define your play style within this environment. So it will define how you experience the location that you're in a more social context or in a more combative context. So we talk about reputation gates as well, especially in the later presentations. So in the case of the food court, in the rundown station, we have multiple floors. So the first floor is the gang floor, and that might require you to have a better relationship with the owner of this location, which then will give you unique mission givers that you can go to and accept a mission that are offering you missions themed after the faction or the owner of this location, but also give you access to unique gear, collectibles, ship weapons, and items. You might have seen these locations in the demo if you've played it. So to close this all off and move on to the other presentations, the glue behind all of our locations is the content. It is the reason why you go to these locations in the first place, and our main goal right now is to not have that divide between social and gameplay as much as we do in Stanton, but mix it up a little and make that dependent on the reputation that you have with the factions or the owners of these locations. And yeah, we're looking into more content. As you've seen listed there, there's a bunch of new stuff coming as well. With the later presentations, for example, with the logistics hubs in the second portion, we're also looking into rates. But yeah, that's it for me. I will pass it over to Eddie now. Hope you've enjoyed this. Take care. Bye.
Ich bin ganz ehrlich, nach ungefähr 30 Sekunden hat er mich schon verloren gehabt.
Ja, es ist, das war so die allgemeine Einleitung, glaube ich.
Ja.
So, I'm Eddie. I'm an assistant art director on Star Citizen for locations. Before we start, I'd like to mention that all of the footage we're about to see comes from our current stable builds. So all of that beautiful tech, all of those features that we've seen in the last 2 days is coming from our tech development builds. Now, all those features are going to make their way to you, of course, eventually. But that is the reason you're not going to see some of them in the builds today. I just wanted to get ahead of the comments a little bit there. So with that said, what am I going to be talking about? Well, I'm really excited to show you that the hard work that the Sandbox One team have been doing to expand our new outpost locations. I'm going to start by going over how we've expanded the library and what that means we can now achieve with the new locations, and then how we achieve that variety from the library by categorizing our locations into both archetypes and themes, and what that means for you as a player. So, I don't know if you remember this, but at SitCon in 2021, we showed this new style of outpost for the first time. Now, at this point, we had our art style locked in. We'd worked on our library of content to the point where we could make smaller locations like this one, but with a limited amount of variety between each one. And this is what that library of modules looked like at that point. We'd established our main building modules, as well as some of our larger buildings and a number of smaller secondary and dressing and standalone modules. But each outpost couldn't be too large without there being some obvious repetition between the modules used. So let's have a look at that library today.
Ja.
So, in order to achieve that greater visual and design delta between each outpost and have them not feel like exact clones of one another, we've massively expanded our module library in terms of breadth and depth. And what I mean that, we go broad by making more modules with different purposes, and we go deep by creating multiple thematic overlays for each of those modules as well. And I'll go into what that means a little bit in a minute. But the challenge of a sandbox location like this, as you can see, it's not about building a single unique location. That can be quite straightforward, to be fair. It's about giving our artists and designers the building blocks, the affordance to build multiple locations that all feel somewhat different, even if they do share that same basic DNA. So it's about creating both the ingredients at the same time as the recipes, and making sure all of those flavors work in harmony with one another for both visuals and gameplay. So every individual part has to take into consideration all of those design philosophies. So every single module has to take into consideration those design philosophies that Khan mentioned. But we also have to make sure that they work with those same principles when an artist or a designer combines them into any one of a number of different layouts. So the more ingredients we have to work with, the more recipes we can create. But with that complexity
Fabi,
comes the
das hat er
challenge
gerade
of
gesagt.
keeping everything harmonious.
Das sind ungefähr 100 Assets mehr, die sie jetzt haben. Hat er doch
We like
gerade
to think we've done
gezeigt.
a pretty good job with that. But that's me. Using this expanded library, we've been able to increase the individual location size because there's less of that obvious repetition between buildings within any single location. And we can't really call some of these large locations outposts anymore. They become something more like settlements and imply a larger and more established community. Now, as a player, it will mean a lot more to explore and do at any single individual location with a localized and personal feeling mission types that might see you moving around a single settlement to complete objectives, or doing short hop missions between clusters of settlements on a single planet. So you might head up to a ridge to repair some wind turbines. You could counter an outlaw attack from a neighboring outpost, or on the opposite side, you might be stealing or destroying vehicles for the criminal gang that you're working for. But in the art department, we always say, show, don't tell. So let's stop looking at slides and let's have a look at some of the locations in game.
Finally.
Sehr gut. Endlich.
Ei. Er zeigt doch nichts Neues. Ja klar. Die hatten vorher 30 Assets, jetzt haben sie 300. Also, das ist...
Es ist halt mehr davon, damit es eine größere Variation gibt einfach.
Ja, und dass sie halt nicht nur kleine Häuser, Dörfchen, wie auch immer machen, sondern halt was Größeres
Sowas.
machen können.
Komplette Siedlung.
Das ist schon ein großer Unterschied. Aber
Also,
man muss halt dazu sagen, so ein Asset, das wird ja nicht, du sagst ja nicht, ich hätte das gerne und so und dann ist es da, sondern die müssen ja alle gebaut werden. Deswegen.
also ein paar von den Locations sehen schon so groß aus, wie Levski war.
Mhm. Scout wieder.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, what flavors of outposts did we just see there? Well, we categorize them in two different ways, as I said, and then we mix and match those categories together to provide that variation. Now, the first and primary category is the archetype, and they provide that core gameplay hook and define the main function of a settlement. So scrapyards have a landing pit module for repairs and refueling. Mining operations can have a refinery module and ore extractors for resource and commodity
Vor allem
trading.
sind das halt mal
And trading
größere
posts
Teile als
themselves
bisher alle
allow a
Outposts,
broader
wo man
range of
hinfliegt.
item purchases through the
Alle Outposts
dedicated
derzeit, du
trade
hast
building
2
module.
Landingpads und 4 Häuser. Mehr ist es nicht. In
And I
komplett
mentioned
Standard.
earlier some more
Oh,
like
guck mal.
general mission
Flora,
types
fauna.
that you might find that would be agnostic of archetype. And the archetypes themselves reflect that primary gameplay function of a settlement, but there's also a middle layer. Of course, we don't want these locations to just be a glorified shop or repair station. So there's to be more secondary activities to do locally to an outpost that are also defined by its archetype. So you may find scrapyards can offer salvage-related gameplay and missions. Trading posts can also offer delivery missions or hauling and cargo gameplay. And farms can offer crops and fauna as resources for gathering or trading. So with archetypes as our primary category, in addition, we mix in a secondary category, and these are the thematic overlays. Now, at the moment, we have 2 main themes. Internally, we call these independent and outlaw. So themes offer additional variation on top of the archetypes to inform the look and feel of a location, not just visually, but which people you'll interact with there, how they'll respond to you based on your rep, what types of missions you'll have available to take on. So themes don't change the fundamental architecture of a space or the archetype of a location, but they do drastically alter the mood and feel, as well as altering the gameplay experience significantly. And again, let's take a look at the first of our themes, our independent theme.
Das ist das, was wir schon kennen. Also,
Ja, wobei sie lustigerweise das letzte Mal die Mission in so einem hatten, aber mit Bösen.
ja,
also-
ja. Und deswegen haben sie das wahrscheinlich
Genau.
gemacht. Damit es
Genau.
jetzt Variationen gibt.
Genau, aber den Stil kennen wir schon, dieses Theme kennen wir schon.
Nochmal, aber die derzeitigen Outposts müssen auch geändert werden. Wenn sie jetzt hier in Pyro so große Dinger da
Ja, ja.
bauen, dass da 30 Häuser stehen, dann müssen da auch mehr Häuser als
Das-
4 stehen. Also
Sagen sie auch jedes Mal, dass es halt auch darauf hinausläuft, dass dass Stanton nochmal überarbeitet wird, was das angeht.
ja. Ja, jetzt
gerade
gerade-
nicht.
jetzt-
Jetzt gerade.
Nee, nee.
Ich glaube, die ganze Präsentation ist sozusagen Living in Pyro.
Ja.
Und das haben sie noch nicht so genannt, aus irgendeinem Grund.
Das ist eine normale Cutter, das war nicht die Dings.
Ja, das war die normale.
Thank
Warte
you.
mal.
So, as a neutral player, the independent theme presents a much more social, visual, and gameplay experience. The primary visual read across both themes, so across both Outlaw and Independent, comes from those common architectural forms, and they're generally all more rounded and soft in shape, and the building manufacture techniques are more robust and primitive, with single-story dwellings built from stucco and bare metal. But for this theme specifically, we use soft textiles, warm lighting and color palettes, foliage, decoration that layer on top of those utilitarian structures to give that sense of home. And I use the word home for our independent theme quite a lot because we really want to get that feeling that this is home for the people that live there despite those harsh realities of frontier life. And in contrast to that, we have a theme that lies in a direct opposition to the independence, which we call the outlaw theme. So let's take a look at that now as well.
Guck mal, wie groß die sind.
Hier ist ja alles, hier ist halt düsterer, so, das finde ich cool. Ah ja, okay. Da sind auch die Organhandel-Shops.
Die Musik geht schon ein bisschen vorwärts. Oh, Gatling-Abwehrtürme. Loser.
Okay,
So
chaotic.
the outlaw theme tells that story of these once functional settlements being completely overrun by the various criminal elements that inhabit the system. And visually, we have themes of a regressed and subverted civilization. So we layer on top of the architecture these spiked and aggressive forms, and we have evidence of our squalid living arrangements, and lighting comes from fires or poorly maintained fixtures. Some spaces are going to be recognizable as deformed versions of the independent theme, but some have been completely changed to more nefarious purposes. And while both themes employ all of the various alternative pathing and traversal considerations that Khan detailed just earlier, the outlaw spaces are weighted more towards combat. But just because these spaces are more dangerous and the experience can be more combative, that doesn't mean that the archetype of the outpost is lost. So if you as a player choose to be a criminal working up your rep with a headhunter gang, you'd be welcome at the trading posts, and you'd be able to buy and sell items or take on missions. But you probably won't then be very welcome at the independent-themed locations, and that's where you get your combat experiences. So while the outlaw theme looks very different, the functionality of those archetypes still remain. So I've talked about the kinds of outposts we've been hard at work on, and I hope you've enjoyed checking them out over the last 2 days in the Pyro demo. It's really made me very pleased to see people playing our content at last, so thank you for that. But where are we heading from here? Well, I hope it should be obvious that we're going to get these out for the first Pyro release. We still have some final optimization and polish passes to do across the whole library. We're also going to be expanding the amount of these locations throughout Pyro and beyond, and our tools allow us to do that very quickly now. And we've got the library as well to do it. Yep. And the new outposts are not limited to the Pyro system. They're completely system agnostic, so you can expect to see these outposts in other systems as well. And of course, we're going to look to add more ingredients, more of those modules to the library as well, to further expand the variety and depth you'll be able to see at these new locations. We want to encourage more on-foot gameplay within a smaller ecosystem of a planet to give that more localized and personal feeling experience. Our goal with these locations, as with many of the others we're going to hear about today, is to continue to work on the gameplay so that every location offers a rich playground to explore. And I guess I'd like to finish just by thanking everyone for listening today. It's really great to see you all. And I'm going to pass you over to Nick, who's going to talk about some locations who are coming in the nearer future. Thank you.
Bonjour tout le monde.
Bonjour Nick.
We are French Canadian on the here. Cool. All right, guys. My name is Nicolas Pinchot. I'm from Montreal. I'm assistant art director, and I'm here today to show you the next new derelict settlement we did. But just before that, I just want to say thank you to everyone who worked on that mandate. You guys made an awesome work. I'm super happy and proud to be here today to show you that, all of you guys, and to the world. So let's cut to the chase, and let me present you the new derelict settlement.
Danke.
Ja, die Franzosen wird schwierig, aber es ist halt so.
Franzosen, die Englisch reden, da komm ich nicht mit.
Genau, Tonk.
Okay, haben wir schon gesehen?
Ja, das kennen wir schon.
Ist jetzt vielleicht noch mal ein bisschen überarbeitet, aber das so auf den ersten Blick kenne ich das.
Aus der Perspektive noch nicht, okay.
Okay. Das ist wo?
Microtech.
Ja, eben.
Ja, es sind ja nur Derelict Settlements, das stand nicht Pyro.
Ja, also es ist halt, beim einen sind sie ein Pyro, beim nächsten sind sie nicht mehr ein Pyro, die müssen auch mal irgendwie, aber ja, okay, ja, das ist alles Microtech hier gerade.
Ja.
Den gab es aber schon mal im Wald. Den
Der war
hatten
nicht
sie,
so groß, guck mal, wie groß
ja,
der
den
ist.
hatten sie schon mal drin, den haben sie jetzt wieder rausgenommen. Da konnte man schon hinreisen. Da war nichts, aber da konnte man schon hinreisen. Den konnte man schon finden.
Okay. Ja.
Eigentlich macht das schon fast mal Sinn, einfach nur über Microtech zu fliegen. Weil Microtech hat somit die meisten...
Oh,
Ja, das ist Lorville irgendwo.
Hurston.
Ja.
aber Oil Rig, das ist neu.
Das ist cool. Kommst auch so nicht hin. Musst du drauf landen.
Man muss so fliegen, ja.
Haben sie auch aus Rust geklaut. Oil Rig, Radiation, alles aus Rust geklaut.
Ja.
Ist das, wie es ist?
Ja, ist einfach reine Rust-Kopie.
Ja. Ganzes Spiel ist Rust. Ja, das sieht schon cool aus.
Das ist cool, auch mit so Gewächshäusern da oben drauf, finde ich lustig.
Ja.
Goblin Oil Rig.
Die ist mehr aus Holz, oder? Die im Brachland meinst du, ne?
Pretty cool, guys, eh? Oh, by the way, we made more than 4. It's not just 4. We made more than that. So we split
okay.
those settlements into
Mabo, ich bin voll bei
categories,
dir.
social and hostile. In the social one, we will have drop-off mission, shops, food, loots, and drinks. And hostile one, obviously, will be more focused combat. Let me show you what it looks like.
Ich glaube tatsächlich,
Ja,
dadurch, dass Jared das so hoch angesetzt hat und gesagt hat, das wird so krass, alles, was ihr heute gesehen habt, war gut und das, was ihr morgen seht, wird besser. Wir sind alle gerade auf so einem Level, wo wir auf genau dieses warten. Wir warten darauf, wo bleibt denn das, was uns versprochen ist? Weil, ja, das ist cool, das sind coole Sachen und so, aber ich sehe mich jetzt hier die ganze Zeit und ich warte wirklich die ganze Zeit drauf, so, wann kommt denn das Geile? Wann kommt jetzt das, was absolut neu ist, was mich komplett umhaut? Wieso soll ich sitzen? Jared hat gesagt, ich soll sitzen, weil das so geil ist. Ja, das sind neue Derlicks. Da hat jeder erwartet, dass das kommt. PYRO, okay, hat jeder erwartet, dass da was passiert ist. Aber ich sehe jetzt hier nicht diesen oh wow, das ist wirklich krass Effekt bisher. In allen 4 Präsentationen bisher nicht. Ich finde das schön, ich finde das gut. Alles, was ich heute gesehen habe, ist geil. Aber nichts davon hat mich bisher komplett fassungslos gemacht, so wie die ersten 30 Minuten gestern. Die ersten 30 Minuten gestern bin ich explodiert. Da war ich euphorisch, ich hatte Gänsehaut auf meiner Gänsehaut. Und heute sitze ich hier und denke mir, ja, ist cool, ist schön, das sind schöne Änderungen.
Ich glaube, was sie gemacht haben, ist effektiv ein Sandwich. Dass sie sehr hoch anfangen, dann kommen die Infos, die sie sowieso rüberbringen wollen und dann kommt nochmal ein großer Knall am Schluss, weißt du, so. Ja. Aber wie du schon sagst, es dämpft die Freude für all die Sachen, weil man halt auf das große Ding am Ende wartet.
Ja, vor allem ich weiß jetzt schon nicht mehr, was am Anfang war, ganz ehrlich. Als ob mein Gehirn noch verarbeiten könnte, was gestern passiert ist. So. Also die richtig coolen Sachen. Als du vorhin das Recap gemacht hast, Alter, ich habe 3/4 davon nicht mehr gewusst. Ganz schlimm. Kann sein, dass Jared einfach auf die Tube gedrückt hat für Viewer Retention. Oder eben auch, weil er stolz auf alles ist. Schwer zu sagen. Ja, klar sind die stolz. Es ist ja auch geil. Also, ich will das nicht schlecht reden. Das sieht mega geil aus. Das sind richtig geile Derlicks. Das will ich nicht schlecht reden. Definitiv nicht. Aber es ist halt was wir alle erwarten. Wir erwarten, dass das Spiel mehr Content bringt, als das, was derzeit da ist. Also, das wäre schon komisch, wenn das nicht der Fall wäre. Und vor allem sind das halt alles so Sachen, die wir auch das hätten sie auch in Inside Star Citizen zeigen können, ganz ehrlich.
Ja.
Also, ne?
I like the end. The end's awesome. All right, in summary, guys, we're going
Fabi,
to
die
have a
Sachen
lot
sind
of
nicht
new
ewig weit weg.
location
Alles, was
planets,
gezeigt wurde, 12
links
Monate.
with nice mission and good gameplay. And the most important, all those locations will be in Q4
Teilweise
this
sogar
year,
bis Ende des Jahres.
available in the game.
Nice.
So thank you very much. I will let now Adam to show you more good stuff. Thank you.
Okay, dann muss jetzt aber auch Good Stuff kommen. Dann zeige ich mir mal Good Stuff. Finde ich auch gut, dass er damit sagt, das war kein Good
Hi
Stuff.
everyone.
Nein, more good stuff hat er gesagt.
All right. So, welcome to Rust Up Stations. I'm Adam Sanders, lead environment artist for EUL1. We're excited today to show you our efforts for the PYRO Rest Stop Stations.
Excel auch für dich,
So,
du hast ja einen Account
what
angelegt.
are
Wenn du
PYRO
jetzt
Rest
das
Stop
Spiel kaufst,
Stations?
kriegst du 30 € geschenkt.
Well, these are
Und du hast das
stations
Spiel für immer.
reinvented. These have
Wollte
new
ich dir nur
themes,
gesagt haben, weil wir drüber
archetypes,
gesprochen
and
haben.
gameplay to support new and interesting experiences. Aside from the social aspects, there is gameplay and exploration on the location. I've hoped you had a chance to play the demo over the past couple of days. I know I've spoken to a few of you. It's pretty good, right? Yeah? It was a sneak peek of our current progress. Let's kick off with an overview of the PYRO system. For the PYRO system
Hier
release,
bin ich jetzt
we
ehrlich,
plan on
das müssen
6
sie zeigen.
planets
Ja.
and
Also
26
das hier,
26
including
Stationen.
jump point stations
Ja, klar.
that connect for Stanton
Läuft
and
doch bei
future
denen.
systems such as Magnus. Rest stop stations are either in rundown or abandoned states.
ja klar.
Ah, okay, genau, stimmt. Das waren
Citizens
die
of
Abandoned
PYRO,
Stations.
the rough and
Okay,
ready
alles
klar.
outlaws
Abandoned
and Xeno
und so weiter,
threat
klar.
may control these. Our focus today will on the rough and
Und
ready
wie
owned
gesagt, sowas hier
Pyrotech
müssen sie jetzt auch
Amalgamated
zeigen. Sie
Fuel
müssen
and
uns auch
Resource
zeigen,
Station,
was kommt jetzt in Pyro
Planet
noch
2,
dazu. Das
the
müssen
Grange
sie machen.
Point
Das
4,
wäre keine Sitcon, wenn sie das
otherwise
nicht machen
known as
würden.
Checkmate Station.
Ja klar, du hast, wie viele Lagrange Points haben wir denn? Du hast mindestens mal... Keine
3
Ahnung.
pro Planet, 3 bis 4 pro Planet, ja, dann sind es fast 20 eigentlich so. Ja. Und dann haben sie wahrscheinlich hier und da noch welche dazwischen.
Die sind halt nicht besetzt, die meisten, ne?
Ja, genau, sind Abandoned oder Rundown, also
Ja.
ist so runtergekommen und dann halt Gangs drauf.
Mhm.
Port Olisa, genau. Port Olisa wird die große Ankündigung.
Ja.
Das wäre fett.
Wäre der Hammer. Würde auch keiner erwarten.
Das würde echt keiner
Das
erwarten.
wird gar absolut niemand wird das erwarten.
Ah, die gefallen mir, das finde ich cool.
Die sehen
So
auch sehr, sehr gut
riesige
aus. Ja.
Raumstationen sind gut.
Ja. Und deswegen glaube ich, Nyx ja. Ne? Nyx ist bei mir noch nicht raus. Aber dadurch, dass du jetzt... Nyx ist ja auch wieder ein System, was nicht lawful ist. Deswegen, ich glaube eher, sie wollen Magnus und Terra werden sie heute noch irgendwie ankündigen. Weil das
wär
sind...
krass.
Das ist erstens das Stanton-Dreieck. Du kommst von Terra nach Pyro, du kommst von Stanton nach Pyro, ich glaube von Magnus kommst du auch nach Pyro. Das wäre halt ein perfektes, das wären perfekte Routen, ne? Und sie müssen eigentlich mehr Lawful-Sachen bringen als Unlawful-Sachen, weil die Lawful-Spieler sind halt immer noch mehr.
So to create a richer experience from rundown
Terra
stations,
ist
we have 3
nicht
key
unser
points.
Sonnensystem.
So increased
Terra ist ein
reputation
anderes
gives
Sonnensystem.
you
Unser
access
Sonnensystem heißt
to
in
new
dem Spiel
areas,
Soll. Das ist
unique
komisch.
gear
aber-
and mission givers.
Ja.
It also relates to basic
Unser
functions such as
Sonnensystem
the
heißt auch
hub
so
clinics, which
Ja,
need at
aber
least
ich
a
mein,
neutral standing with the
Terra
Romans.
ist ja normalerweise die Erde, aber da gibt es ein Sonnensystem,
Combat
das so
can
heißt.
take place
dummerweise.
anywhere, including social areas. Numerous options for environment traversal and enhanced environmental interactions. We aim to include new substation areas such as the workers area, lower deck, and maintenance areas. These areas will offer unique content, more environment interactivity, and interconnection between areas. Our journey begins when the player arrives in the entry deck view room. The entry deck serves as the first barrier between the outside world and the interior of the station. Some inhabitants are prevented from going inside and are stuck here with no means of getting out. Slums are formed beneath the bridge, smuggling routes established. Some shopkeepers will sell you water and food on your way into and out of the station. Let's have a look.
Solona.
Ich finde cool.
Ja.
Ich finde das cool an dem Look.
Solamis finde ich auch gut, ja.
in den Look von diesen Rundown-Stations finde ich gut, dass es dadurch, dass du halt nicht so diese klaren Schilder hast und die klaren Passagen wie in den Stationen, die wir bisher kennen, halt wirklich chaotischer wirkt einfach. Wenn ich hier mir das angucke, weiß ich nicht, wo ich hin muss. Nicht nur, weil ich die Station nicht kenne, sondern es gibt für nichts Hinweise sozusagen. Du musst es halt wirklich lernen, genau, und dann halt mit der Map befolgen.
Aber du wirst hier keine Map
hier
downloaden können wahrscheinlich.
Nee, die musst du selber bauen. Vor allem Environmental Exploration auf einer Station finde ich auch gut.
Ja, ist halt... Das ist okay, weil da werden ja auch Missionen sein auf diesen Dingern. Das, wie gesagt, das sind ja Verlassene eigentlich. Also das ist jetzt nicht so, wie wir es aus Stanton kennen, dass wir überall hingehen, überall Sachen kaufen können, überall tanken können und so weiter. Das wird ja nicht auf diesen Stationen sein. Die Stationen sind ja auch eigentlich ja, Missionen etc. Da kannst du ja auch alles haben.
Gut, die Station Layout ist unique, ist klar.
Wartungsmission, ja, genau. Nice.
Oh, das ist cool.
Das ist cool, ja.
So Khan touched on reputation earlier. Let's see how that is applied to the stations. So how does the reputation gate in the entry deck affect gameplay?
Reputation wird
What
ein
happens if we have
Riesending
good
mit Pyro,
reputation?
ne?
So if you had good reputation, you could go straight through. This is no fuss, and it's the quickest way to maneuver through the station. However, you got to put the time and the effort in to get to this point.
Ja klar, deswegen gibt es diese
But if you
Gänge.
neutral reputation. So you might be waved through, maybe you have to pay a bribe, and you don't want to pay, so you can have to find an alternate pathing. Or you can have to build up your reputation. If you have bad reputation, and for all you naughty ones out there, I know some of you exist, this applies to you. In short, you're going to have a tough time, but you have options. So stealth via other pathways might be one of those options. You build your reputation up from scratch, or you could probably fight. Let's focus on those alternate pathways.
Aber das ist geil.
The modules in the station are broken up into several traversal areas. As with the other location archetypes, we define these spaces as secondary or tertiary routes, as opposed to the more official primary paths.
Ja.
Most modules are interconnected with vents and maintenance shafts. These reward the players with infiltration and exploration paths, as well as potential loot. So what alternative routes exist to access the station? We'll offer the opportunity to access the station through multiple EVA points on the exterior. It gives you the choice on how to tackle missions and reputation issues. These alternative entries allow the player to circumvent the ATC loop completely. Useful for when your reputation with the owners would normally prevent you from going through more official ways. These serve as spaces that provide content aligned or against the owners of the station. The maintenance hatch access points are a new common sub-location to the stations. The stations are planned to house maintenance areas that increase the interconnection between all the different sub-areas of the station. They act as alternative pathways the player can take to traverse from the entrance area to the Galleria, for example. Now let's have a look at our main social space. The market. A central location for the controlling faction, it houses all their nefarious activities. You can participate in their endeavors if you have the right rep. Let's have a look at some of those key features.
Hat Obstkuchen richtig gesehen.
Ich finde es geil, dass du immer noch so ein bisschen die UEE hier erkennst, die hier damals die Station gebaut hat. Ja? Wenn du so genau hinguckst, die Stanton UEE-Station, die erkennst du hier wieder, aber die sind halt so runtergekommen und so. Das ist wirklich super unique alles. Sehr geil. Richtig, richtig geil. Warum sollte Haar- und Stoffsimulation kommen? Das Thema war doch heute im ersten Ding. Das ist doch abgeschlossen.
Es sind zwei verschiedene Builds vor allem.
Oh, hallo.
Lecker Zeug. Kann man essen direkt.
Der Wenzlack.
Direkt vom Boden essen. So ist auch lecker.
Nom, nom, nom. Überall Grimhex. Also. Grimhex sind gut.
So the market is a social hub and a good example of mixing social and gameplay space, as mentioned by Kyle earlier.
wollte gerade sagen,
Another
gibt's die
reputation
Börse?
gate can be found in the market. The ground floor is open to the common public. The upper floor is reserved to rough and ready outlaws and their associates. If you have increased reputation, you can access this area, which gives you access to premium items,
Turm sieht
top-tier
krass
mission
aus,
givers, and access to new areas. We plan to house mission givers in both tiers that will give you unique jobs to further your reputation and fame across Pyro. Now let's have a look at another theme. Abandoned is a new, non-social location theme. Let's have a quick look at the current abandoned area on Checkmate.
Das ist auch gut, Abandoned Area, finde ich gut. Das heißt, das auf der gleichen Station 2 verschiedene Themes.
Ja, da wo halt noch Leben herrschen kann und da wo halt alles im Arsch ist. Weil hier ist schwierig,
Ja,
ne?
cool.
Aber da sind auch noch Leute, okay.
Ja, da sind Leute und da gibt es Eingänge durch die Hintertür in die andere Station, in Stationsbereiche.
Sehr cool. Also das gefällt mir wirklich.
Das finde ich
Ich
auch
meine,
gut,
ist jetzt auch nichts Neues, ne? Wir wussten, dass das wussten wir auch. Wir wussten, dass das alles da passieren wird und so, aber es ist schön, das jetzt einfach zu sehen. Mal auch in quasi fertig. Und daran erkennt man einfach, wie weit die sind, ne? Also Pyro ist halt einfach fucking fertig.
Da kannst du einfach den ganzen Tag auf so einer Station verbringen und alles erstmal erkunden.
Und alles umbringen.
So we have entire abandoned stations as separate locations. On top of that, there are abandoned areas within the rundown stations, much like the ones you probably see in the demo. There will be around 15 of these around the Pyro system. These are accessible through airlocks and breaches or other means.
Hi Dirk, grüß dich.
We aim to enhance all the space locations with a lot more gameplay content. Loot runs, exploration, creatures, missions of various types with PvE and PvP content, just to name a few. We're also laying a focus on environment interactivity with potential retrofitting of occupied stations. With the future addition of security systems and the resource network system, we will have the means to further improve the experience within these spaces and offer new challenges. With power, life support, and gravity playing a key role to give the player a unique experience, especially in abandoned stations. So, what do Pyro rest stop stations bring to the game? So lots more variety in space stations, with more gameplay opportunities within a station location. Opportunities for exploration, hidden areas, multiple options for access or traversal. These are faction-owned, and reputation will affect the location and gameplay. These feature lots of new mission opportunities within social space and multiplayer opportunities for combat on location. So I hope you have enjoyed this sample of what stations will offer and had a chance to have a go on the demo the past couple of days. That concludes the Living on Edge presentation. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Also umgehauen hat's mich nicht.